Good morning and welcome to Morning Manna on this 14th day of June. I was thinking about today's scriptures and I was thinking about the messes in our lives and the temptation that we have to take care of them real quick first. And so I was tempted and I asked Marla, I want to film right in front of the sink and I want it piled with dishes and I want it to be dirty. It was really hard for her. She's like, really, Micah? So I talked to my daughter, Aaliyah, and she graciously allowed me to film in front of her messy room. And I say it's a messy room, and I say that in quotations a little bit because there are some things I'm learning that Marla and I see differently. There's some things I see that she doesn't see. There are some things that she sees that I don't see. For example, if she were to walk by this scene that I'm in, she would look in here, she'd poke her head in here, and she'd say, what a mess. And she would be embarrassed if Aaliyah were to invite some friends over, or if we were to have company and they were to come in, she'd want the door shut. And it's not just this, there's a lot of things like that. Sometimes we'll be tucking the girls in and we'll go in and I'll go and sit down on the couch afterwards, ready to relax with her. And where does she go? She goes right to the kitchen. If there's some dishes that need done or there's some arranging or tidying up in the main living room that needs done. And she's asked me before, she's like, Michael, why don't you, if you see a mess, why don't you just clean it up? And the answer is really simple. It's because I have a hard time seeing the mess. What she calls a mess, I don't call a mess. To me, it's normal. To me, it's just the way that I am or the way that kids are. But to her, it's a mess that needs cleaned up. So I'm learning that we see things differently. And I think that I'm not alone in that. I think a lot of couples have those differences of opinions and different way of seeing things. But we have to learn how to adjust with those. For example, if I'm going to invite somebody over, I'll give her a call first, because I know if I just show up and things aren't put away or aren't wiped off, that's going to be a real distraction. If not for the guest, for her at least. It'll be that thing that she's bugged by, that's there staring at her in the teeth. Kind of like if I were to be talking with you and there'd be a big green piece of spinach on my teeth. That'd be a distraction for you. You might hear the words I'm saying, but it would be hard to focus on them because you're distracted, because of the thing on my teeth. It's like, okay, I want to hear what you're saying, but please, Micah, wipe that off first. No matter what I was saying, if it was good or bad, it reminds me a little bit of some of the missionary updates that I used to write. I'd send these out about once a month, and sometimes God would be doing some really incredible things, and I'd be pouring my heart and soul into these things. And the feedback I'd get, particularly from a couple people, would be, hey, Micah, the content was good, but the grammar was distracting. And in truth, grammar's never been my strong suit. So they weren't wrong in saying that. I just bring all this to attention to say that there are things that can distract us from what's really important. These past couple of days have been hard at my house, my mom's house. Her husband is in his last days, and they dropped off a hospice bed and they put it where a couch used to go. And so we moved the couch out of the way and they put the bed there. Well, if you've ever moved a couch in your living room, there's going to be crumbs and stuff underneath. There wasn't time to vacuum that up. So Keith got moved in, the machines all got set up, and Keith's daughter and sons came, and they came back from lunch. And my mom had wanted to get everything cleaned and organized while they were gone. But she was vacuuming up some of those crumbs when they came in. And they came immediately and they went right to his bed. And they were trying to have this conversation. And there my mom was vacuuming. You could see the look in her eyes, like she could see still the things on the ground that needed picked up, that needed vacuumed up, but it was right where they were standing. There was something important going on there between Keith and his kids. And yet my mom was having a real hard time not cleaning that mess up. It was a distraction to her. And I go to all this length to talk about distractions because as Christians, we're never going to lack distractions in our spiritual lives. I mean, you even look at the book, the gospel accounts, I think of Mary and Martha. You know, in Luke 10, it tells us the story when Jesus was at their house and he was teaching. And Martha, the text tells us in verse 40, but Martha was distracted with much serving. She was distracted. She complains to Jesus. She says, make my sister help me. And in verse 41, Jesus says, Martha, Martha, you are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed, or indeed only one. Mary has chosen what is better, and it shall not be taken from her. Martha was distracted from the truly important by serving, and serving is a good thing. You know, in Martha's point of view, it would have been the responsible thing to do, the thing that she was doing what she needed to do. But the Bible tells us that she was distracted. You know, as Christian, there are a lot of things that can distract us from what is truly important. In Luke 12, Jesus was telling his disciples to consider the ravens, for they neither sow nor reap, which have neither storehouse or barn, and God feeds them. How much more value are you than the birds? And which of you by worrying can add 1 cubit to his stature? If you are not able to do the least, why are you anxious about the rest? Consider the lilies, how they grow, neither toil nor spin. And I say to you, even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. If then God clothes the grass, which is today in the field and tomorrow he throws in the oven, how much more will he clothe you, you of little faith? We get distracted. These are needs that we have. He never said these weren't legitimate needs. But they get on our way sometimes of what is truly important. In 1 Timothy 6:6-9, Paul tells the young Timothy, now godliness with contentment is great gain, for we brought nothing into this world, and it is certain we can carry nothing out. And having food and clothes, with these we shall be content. But those who desire to be rich fall into temptation and a snare, and into many foolish and harmful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition. Even Jesus, when he was teaching in Mark 4, the parable about the four soils, when he spoke of the word being sown, he spoke of those who hear the word, and the cares of this world, the deceitfulness of riches, and the desires for other things enter in and choke out the word, and it becomes unfruitful. This is that third field. The distractions, the cares of this world. It's the problem with, okay, Jesus, but first. And the problem with that mentality is there is always one more thing that needs to be resolved. Always one more mess that needs to be cleaned up, one more nose that needs to be wiped, one more thing that needs purchased, or something that needs to be upgraded, one more room that needs to be redone, one more payment that needs to be made. Messes never end. Payments never, the bills never stop. All people know that. But it's hard sometimes. We have that need. Let me just finish this and then I'll be with you. Let me clean the kitchen and then we'll sit down. And what happens? One mess leads to another. And they're distractions. Distractions, they come in various forms. And we need to learn to disciplinedly ignore some of these distractions in their various forms so that we don't miss what is truly important. Sometimes we have to train ourselves to ignore the spinach on the person's teeth so that we can hear what they're truly saying. We have to train ourselves to ignore these distractions so we don't miss the chances that we have to figuratively sit at Jesus' feet and learn from him. And it takes discipline to do this and discipline to trust. But it is, as Jesus said to Martha, truly what is better. May you have a blessed day as you consider these things. Ciao.